tried to get out, and the time was now.
Yes, yes, yes. Welcome back to No Kink Shaming. I mean, sitting down with stand-ups. I am your co-host, Justin Sakarica. As always, we have the Bean behind the scene, Daryl Bean, who is our technical wizard and sometimes plumber. And over to my left, we have the very lovely Alana Gonzalez. Alana, how are we feeling coming off the Jake the Snake episode?
It's a whirlwind, and I literally haven't even fully processed everything. Like, he was right here.
I know.
He was here.
He was in the basement.
Like,
yeah, it is
Jacob
insane.
the Snake he was here.
Yeah. Is it more weird that I got more nervous after he left when I went back and watched some of his clips? I'm like, dude, that guy was just in my basement.
I really do think that we were so caught up in the moment. So a little peek behind the scenes. There was a little bit of logistical snafu where unfortunately the man behind the snake got some bad intel and drove literally 2 hours round trip before getting to our podcast, and the fact that he was still nice enough to say yes and do the interview
absolutely
is so telling.
And to be because you'll see it when you watch it, all 31 subscribers.
Well, they've already seen it.
Oh yeah, of course, yes. But like, he loves his fans and he loves to make people smile. And again, when you're at that age and you're old and beat up, obviously you're going to be a little
right,
a little low energy. But he was great. I mean, he was amazing. Jake, again, thank you.
Yes.
But yeah,
the fact that we were living this side of, okay, we're gonna get off work, we're gonna go here, we're gonna do this, we're checking off boxes, like, okay, we're ready for him to come. He's gonna be here in 5 minutes. And then you get the call that, oh, just kidding, he's gonna be here in an hour and 15 minutes because he's that far away. It was like, okay, so we had that time to just kind of stew on how this is gonna go. So by the time he gets here, we're like, oh my God, it's Jake the Snake. Okay, we want to be efficient. We want to be quick. Let's go. So I think it makes perfect sense that afterwards you're like, okay, what just happened?
Yeah, like, we sat here and we joked around and we bullshit with Jake the Snake, which, again, an absolute amazing dude. But then when you go back and you watch his clips, I'm like, oh my God, like, this guy is a legend and he is sitting right here next to us. And yeah, like, it's weird how it hits you after the fact. And
I think I will be sitting in that. I mean, the fact that he was close enough, and since everybody has already seen the episode, you already know, the fact that he was close enough for me to literally touch the Hall of Fame ring.
Yes, which you did.
I did.
You touched the ring.
And I was like, oh my God, you're right there. You're right there. And there were a couple times, I don't know if the camera caught it, but I got a little like buddy bump from him. And I was like,
he was. I think he was a big fan of you as well.
We were hanging. So call me Jake. We'll hang out.
Hanging and banging with Jake the Snake, because I tell you what, Jake, if there's anybody you want to hang out with, it's a winner.
Oh
yeah!
Look at that transition.
The king of transitions. Do you want to explain why I'm calling you a winner?
Because I am.
There you go. Yeah.
Thank you. Barbie. Hashtag Barbie movie. Hashtag this girl is on fire. We did the Plymouth Roadhouse, what was it called?
A
Random Ass Comedy Contest by Andy McFarland happened, and it was allowed sign-ups for 40 comedians, then randomly selected 20 comedians to do sets, and then of those that performed, randomly selected 3 people to win some cash money. And
cha-ching.
I have not checked the serial numbers, but the bills did. They feel crisp and clean.
Yes.
I walked home. I drove home, but I walked out of there $200 richer.
Damn. Yeah, yeah. So and completely unrelated. I need to borrow $200. Yeah.
Sorry, my kiddo's day camp is $300 a week.
Oh
so.
yeah. I need hair plugs. So I don't know how much that costs. Yeah.
But it was random.
It was random.
It lived up to its name. There were a ton of newer comedians that I had never seen before, and I realized, and I want to talk to our guest a little bit about this, but
We have a guest.
but like it's something that I had heard when I was just starting out about kind of like not an elitist type of way, but just like different classes of comedy.
Yeah.
And you realize kind of who's in your class, and you kind of go through shows together, and you go through experiences together. And I was like, yeah, but I'm different. I know everybody. I like everybody. And then walking in there, it's not to say I don't like them, but I was like, oh no, I get it. I am not in tune with this current class of comedians, because there was a whole room of people that I was like, who is that?
Yeah,
What
and
is
like
that?
it's funny to me, like when you see them, and like I remember being that fresh faced, like I'm gonna be at the Royal Oak Music Theater next year because I got 5 minutes, and then you're like, oh no, this
But
is
it's
not.
really 2.
Yeah.
As long as I don't swear.
And my mom thinks I'm funny.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, your mom loves you. My mom loves me, but she doesn't think I'm funny. Same with my dad. He's like, buddy, I support you, but not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
It's funny to hear that.
It was, but yeah, it was a super fun time, and kudos to you, Andy, for corralling all of that.
Hats off to you, Andy, because it's not every day that I get to sit next to a winner, but what if I told you we had an even bigger winner in the house? Somebody who won
An actual comedy
and
competition.
who won an actual comedy contest, because our guest today, not only is he the winner of the funniest person in Grand Rapids, he's also a very, very funny comedian, a very nice guy. He books a lot of rooms as well. This guy is probably one of the most well-respected.
That is for sure.
Oh, yeah. And I also hear he does great karaoke.
Oh, I forgot, and I'm
How
so
can you
excited
forget?
that I just remembered,
Yes.
because we can talk about that too.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest today, Pat Sievert. Pat, get on in here, man. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, how can you forget about this, man?
don't
Just
know. It was
belting out
honestly,
tunes.
it was the highlight of my Traverse City
Oh, man,
Comedy
that's-
Festival.
No, it was
That's a lot.
seriously-
That's a high praise.
It was. This is. What do the kids say? No cap or whatever.
Yeah, I guess it's, yeah.
I have not posted it anywhere. I would not do that. But I have shown strangers, like friends of mine that don't know the comedy community, after the trip. They were like, "Oh, how was Traverse City?" I was like, "Best night ever." Check this out. Like, I know you don't know this person, but like, look at how much fun everybody's having. And yeah, it was. I'm rambling.
One of my
but
karaoke.
yeah,
I did it twice at that festival.
It was Just a Friend.
Okay,
Is the
I did. I'm on a boat with Ben Bradshaw.
Oh, I missed that one. Yes, the two videos that I would show in a this is how much fun we had was Pat Sievert doing Just a Friend by Biz Markie, and Kara Karachi when she did that song, and then she's on the back. This is what I get for not preparing to talk about this.
I'm trying to rack my brain, too. I'm sure.
She did a song, and then Melanie did a dance break in the middle. Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Yeah, that's
Total
right.
Eclipse of the
Yeah.
Heart. Yep. She ended up, Melanie did a dance break in the middle, and then Kara climbed on the back of Mike Larry, and Mike Larry carried her around the bar. And yeah, we had some fun
Yeah,
in
and
Traverse City.
again, how can that not be fun?
So unbelievably great.
Yeah, and speaking of great,
Yeah.
it is great to have a wonderful guest on like you, Pat.
thanks
what
for
have you
having me.
Yeah, I do it any time, man. What have you been up to, man? What's going on?
I mean, I feel like I've done a lot of cool things lately, but it's it kind of seems like routine. I mean, trying to think, like, narrow down, like, specific things that have been, like Traverse City was cool. That was a good, like, start to the year. I think a couple weeks before that, I was in Port Austin at a show in the Thumb. Alana was on it. That was, like, the first time I ever performed in the Thumb. I think maybe the first time I've ever been
Really?
in the Thumb, yeah.
And
It's like
yeah, and it was like a like a
An
mini
old bank.
vacation.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was that the Gilleron show?
Yep,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
it was the
Yeah, yeah.
Gilleron show, and yeah, we went up there, and then we had a slumber party.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
So
very
it
cool.
it was me and Pat and
Preston
Preston Hart.
Yep.
And then the Gillerans, and we stayed at their place up there. So it was fun. Like I've never done the road with Pat, but that was kind of like
I mean, I feel like we all drove separately and
Right.
did our
coming
own
from
thing.
different
but, yeah.
places, right? But it was
Very cool.
And then, after Traverse City, I was in Alaska for the festival in Anchorage. That
I
was
gotta
cool.
ask you about that.
Yeah.
I've been dying to go to Alaska, man.
Oh,
Like,
man,
what's
it's
it like
awesome.
there?
It's so cool.
and that's the before you die. Alaska.
Yeah, Alaska
before
before you die. I mean, I've been to Anchorage and I've been to Homer, Alaska, which is like 4 hours from Anchorage. So I don't know the whole state. I couldn't tell you like.
Well, the
what's
state's
the-
huge. Yeah, I mean,
right.
it's-
But like the city, Anchorage is a cool city, and it's like seems kind of more. It's like a big city with manageable like traffic wise. There's not too many people. And there's like cool things to do. I got to see the Northern Lights one night. That was pretty awesome.
that's
Aurora
awesome.
Borealis.
Yeah.
At this time of day, at this location,
Yep.
localized entirely within your kitchen.
I want to get that reference. I like to laugh.
It's the steamed hams on the
He
Simpsons.
knows it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Steamed hams is probably the best, like, 2 minutes in. I mean, it is
People have
so
made
funny.
like so many memes and stuff
Oh, yeah.
from that.
And I know that you're a Simpsons guy, so
Yeah.
that's why I dropped that in there.
Yeah.
I would have felt real silly if you were like, why?
I was talking about that on the trip, and like a bunch of people were like, "Oh, I don't know, I never watched that." I was like,
That
"What?"
is-
You don't know.
I freaking love The Simpsons, man. It's so funny. That whole little,
Yeah, I think the guide said that people usually reference that.
Yeah.
Like, Aurora Borealis, this time of year, this
Yep.
time of day.
localized entirely within your kitchen. Yes.
I would have been on the side of
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Every time I go up north, there's a hotel in St. Ignace called Aurora Borealis.
Okay.
I cannot drive past it without going through that bit. And my friends are like, "Are you gonna fucking do it?" I'm like, "Yep, I'm gonna do it." You have to do it, man.
Can they
But-
see? I wonder, 'cause I think some places in northern Michigan might see them occasionally. So yeah.
Yeah, there was actually, when I was in Minnesota like 3 or 4 weeks ago, there was a chance that we were going to be able to see him, but then, the clouds
yeah.
came in, and I was like, well, fuck it, I'm going to bed.
There was something I thought I saw.
I think
an
the night that I
article.
saw him, it wasn't a good night, but it was still like we got to see a little bit
Yeah,
of them.
Yeah.
but you're in Alaska, man. Like,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is, I mean, like, that's a bucket list state for me. Like, is that a place that you've always wanted to go?
I mean, I obviously like I would like to perform in like every state if I could. I think this is my second time going, so I went the first year when I just heard people talking about it was a new festival, and it sounded like fun, and I thought, well, if it's the first year, maybe I have the best chance that I'm ever
yeah,
gonna have,
right.
So
Yeah.
so I just applied and I got in, and then I was like, had a great time. But I think the first time I went to Alaska, I went on like a Wednesday. And I left Sunday, and I got there like Wednesday night. So I was like, I didn't do this like fully. Like I
Right.
wish
Oh,
I'd,
yeah,
right.
it was all
like,
business.
Some people were there for like, were there for almost a week. So I feel like a lot of comics all knew each other, and then I was just like showing up to like do my sets. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I tried to go out a little bit longer this time, and
Yeah, now how many festivals, like, have you been in? Because you've been in a lot.
I mean, I haven't been to like the big ones, but I try to do like anything Michigan, or like if I know people who are running it. So like I did like Whiskey Bear in Columbus, like every year they had it. They haven't done that since 2019. They were gonna do like a new thing to replace it, but then that got canceled because of COVID, and eventually just like we're not even rescheduling it anymore.
yeah.
We'll like if we actually do it, we'll let you know, and you can apply again, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I did like Motor City for the first 4 times, but then I took a break because I think they said like they were probably going to have me take a break so
Oh,
that other
okay,
people
yeah.
could do it.
Yeah.
So I just like, all right, I'll take a couple of years
Yeah.
off.
But it's good to know that you're taking a break because you've been on so many times, which means you're good enough to keep getting on.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's not like, well, sorry, Pat, you suck. We can't. Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, it's good to know that, hey, you know, you're good enough to keep getting on. They just
Yeah.
kind of want to get some new blood on there.
Yep. And what else have I? So yeah, Alaska Before You Die, Whiskey Bear. I've been going to the Savage Henry Festival in like Eureka, California, Eureka Arcata, which is like the top of the state, like redwoods.
I was just going to ask where, because I've seen a photo of, I think it's, if I'm picturing correctly, it's you, Robert Jenkins, maybe someone else, and the trees.
That day, we like 1 year, I think it was 2021, it was like all the salsa parlor people,
Okay.
most of the salsa parlor people, plus Alana Banfield, and Robert and I were there, so we took a picture in like one of the redwood like parks.
That's probably what I'm picturing, because I just
Yeah.
remember like you and the trees and.
Yeah, I just kind of like, it's one of those random like, because I would do Laugh Fest in Grand Rapids a lot. Met Dash Kwiatkowski, who used to be a San Francisco comedian. And he was like saying, he messaged like me and a bunch of other Michigan people, was like, you should do my friend Chris's festival. And we're all like, and this Chris guy was in the message and he was like, yeah, you guys are all welcome. So we were like, oh, cool, comedy in San Francisco. And we all like got tickets and it sounded like we were gonna have a cheap Airbnb, which didn't end up working. So then we're like, okay, well we'll find a place to stay. Did all that, and then it was like a week before we left. It was like, oh, this isn't in San Francisco. This is like 4 hours north.
Yeah, you're staying in the forest. Yeah, you're in Bigfoot country.
Yeah, it is. There's like a Bigfoot. Like one of the towns nearby has a big like Bigfoot thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But like I remember telling Robert like when we were getting ready to go, I was like, if this sucks, we're not going back again. Like because I was like, we were kind of like, what is this? Like this doesn't sound like it would be good at all. But yeah, it was so much fun that we've always gone back. I'm actually not going this year, but I hope to come back, in 24.
Nice.
So.
Gotcha.
Nice. You mentioned that you'd like to do comedy in every state, and so
I
we just
think that's
talked
more
about,
of a more recent thing. But yeah, I think that would be cool.
Have you, outside of festivals, have you performed in other states?
I went for my day job. They sent me to Washington State once. So I did a set there.
Nice.
Our Tacoma Comedy Club and like an open mic in this. There's this building. It's been in a movie that's shaped like a teapot. I can't think. It's like this coffee shop that's shaped like a teapot,
sounds
like
adorable.
bar. So I performed there. They had like a Thursday night like mic. I did that.
That's so fun.
So that's how I got Washington off my list. But then I haven't really South like at all. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've been going to the South quite a bit for it's Knoxville, but that's the South. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, I've
still
been
the
going
South.
down there for work. I really haven't done much comedy down there,
Yeah.
but it's.
Yeah, I
Find
know.
out if there's an open mic. I'm sure there's got to be
Oh yeah,
something in Knoxville.
there's open mics down there for sure. I've
Yeah.
just been like, I get off work and I'm like, I just want to go back to my hotel and chill and go to the Waffle House and meet weird people.
I think there was like, I did the Tacoma Comedy Club open mic, and nobody knew who I was, so they're just like, oh, this is like another like open micer or whatever. I was in like pretty much right in the middle. I think maybe they gave me an extra minute because I knew I was out of town or whatever. So
That's cool.
But then I don't know. I was like, it's an open mic, but they don't know me, so I'm gonna do like polished
Your set,
material
right,
or
yeah.
whatever. People were like, oh, I got this thing you could do this weekend. I was like, well, my last 3 days working, because I was there for like a set like week and a half of like some work that had to get done. I was like, I'm working 12-hour days. Like, there's no way I'm gonna get out of work and be like, all right, yeah, let's go to this bar.
Right. Exactly. I know Andy Beningo just accomplished his 50th state, and that's on. It's a Kate Brindle checklist item too. I think she's at. Sorry, Kate, if I get this wrong, but I think she's at 46.
She's coming for you.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I think I'm maybe at like the high double digits, but yeah. I think I've done like all the Midwest states. I mean I think I pulled off that within like 2 years. Been to Pennsylvania and never been to Jersey or New York or out farther than that. Texas, California, Oregon, Washington, and now Alaska.
Nice.
You've been to, I mean, obviously you performed in Canada, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Only like once or twice though.
But hey, it counts. But then you gotta do Mexico after that.
Yeah.
You gotta go to Mexico, man.
Entire North America.
I would do Mexico. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they'd understand you, depending on what part you're in. But
Well, I feel like in some countries they'll do like it's comedy night for expats or whatever. But I don't know. Is Mexico too like close enough that maybe it wouldn't? I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, it's I know that sometimes people see this as a little hacky or lame, but I've known Pat for a little while now, but I realize I don't know your origin story, and this is a perfect excuse. Because it might be kind of weird if we're sitting at Beggars to be like, so Pat, how did you get
started?
And you're like, I'm trying to run a show, lady. So how did you get started?
I think like middle school around then I was like way into like comedy. I don't know that I watched a lot of stand up.
Okay.
But like The Simpsons and like humorous things. That's I think I started watching SNL around then.
Okay.
So like comedy was a thing that I enjoyed.
Without trying to do the math myself, what would that SNL time frame kind of be?
It was Will Ferrell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he had just started like when I started watching.
Okay.
So yeah, like it was like the mid '90s, like '95-ish.
Okay.
Yeah. Then we got cable, so I'd watch a lot of Comedy Central, like after school. So I'd watch like Kids in the Hall.
Oh, I love Kids in the Hall.
Whose Line was on sometimes. I think Whose Line was on at like noon, so it had to be like a half day of school where I could catch that one. But it was a lot of like SNL reruns from like 2-hour block of that, and then like Simpsons in syndication in those days was on, like you could watch the Detroit station and then Lansing station, catch like an hour and a half of it, like three episodes a night. So I think that just like kind of influenced like my sense of humor. I always like to like make people laugh. I always wanted to maybe try it, but I didn't get a chance to like throughout high school. Then when I was in college in 2001, there was like a talent show thing at the end of the year. Well, I'd been going to like a stand-up show that was monthly at our student union. And they bring in like, just nobody you'd ever heard of, I don't think. There was like a guy that did like, he was somewhat famous. He had like a thing where he did like quote movie quotes, like the whole thing was like acting out movies and like, I'm trying to think of his name, but he was like the biggest name that ever brought in. But I was like, oh, this is cool. And then like, so I went to the February show and they were like, in April, we're not doing it. We're sort of doing this talent show. So I was like, oh, well, I should try to do that.
Yeah.
So like I signed up and they were like, we need to see your act. I was like, I don't have that yet. I was like, how long is it going to be? I was like, I don't know. Like, and I didn't know how long, how long to plan for, what, I didn't know how it go. Like, I started writing out things. I practiced it like a couple times for like people in my dorm. And then I was like, all right, I guess I'm just going to do this. And I know I had maybe like dirtier stuff that I ended up doing stand-up later. So I think that like maybe shocked people. And like, cause I know we had like judges' scorecards, so it's like, you should talk about the sex stuff more. I was like, I don't know if that was the teacher or one of the students, but, and like the host of that event was like the guy who won it the year before, who was like a blind student. He was graduating that year, and he just like, did stand up kind of, and like they liked him so much that he won. So he was like, oh, that guy's good, after my set. And then, like, I ended up winning it, the thing.
Nice.
So then I was like, oh, well, I should do this more. came back.
Was there a prize involved?
Yeah,
or
it was like
just
$200.
Nice.
Yeah.
Won $200. Won $200.
Yeah.
I won
Now-
$200 for doing absolutely nothing.
So it was
just to
cool, and I was like, oh, maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. But then like came back from like summer break and trying to get on like the comedy club we had in Lansing, which back in that time was like you had to call on Monday to try to get on the open mic list for Wednesday. And I took the first 3 callers. Like, that's it. And it was only
Connections?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was 3 comedians. It wasn't an open mic night. It was 3 people could do like, 3 minutes or whatever it was before the main show. Like what Grins does now.
Gotcha.
So I was like, I'd always call and they'd be like, oh, sorry, we already got our 3. And I don't know if that's like people that they wanted to book or you never know. But I was like, that kind of like, oh, well, so I didn't do that at all. Like, I tried every week, but I never got picked. And then just like, I think I did like a couple things around campus after that, and just like, oh, well, it's not something I'm focused on right now, so I let that go. Like, my mom was like, oh, are you going to keep doing that? And I was like, no, I'm going to finish school first, and, maybe then I'll come back to it. And then, I don't know. People always said I was funny at like jobs I had. They're like, you should do that, but I was like, I don't know.
Would you
So I think that would be like a fun fact. Like if people were like, let's everybody say something like crazy about you. I'd be like, I did stand up once. That was like the thing. I went to school for secondary education history.
Oh, okay.
I've never been a full-time teacher. Like I didn't get like I did my student teaching. Then couldn't find like a full-time position anywhere. Maybe if I had like left Michigan, but I was like, I gotta go to Florida. I don't want to live in Florida. Or like Arizona was a big one, but it was like you had to spend like a couple $100s to get licensed in every state. And I was like, well, I'm just out of school. I don't have have like hundreds of dollars to go get licensed in.
Plus moving fees. And
do more talent shows and win.
Yeah.
just keep winning talent shows to fund your student your teaching career.
I know a lot of newer comics watch this, and not to be the old lady that I always am, but I think it's fascinating and a good reminder for people that you're talking about like 2000s, like the early 2000s, and there were not the multitude of independent shows and 27 open mics every week and all of this stuff. It was very narrow.
And I think like back then there was like, I think Facebook came out in like 2003 or something, like maybe the first version of it.
Long ago?
Yeah, like, it was like Zuckerberg was in college and he set it up.
Really?
Yeah, so but
I think it was open to the world. I think it was like 2009.
I think in like 2005 I heard of it, and it was like if you had a school email address, you could get it.
Yeah,
so I was like, even though I had graduated like 6 months earlier, I was like, well, I could still get it,
Yeah.
So yeah, and this is like pre-Facebook, so there was no like comedy. I wouldn't have known about any like bar open mics.
Right.
And at like 19, 20, am I going to be like, oh, I'll go to this part of town I don't go to and try to do an open mic comedy night, so I just, didn't do it. If I could go back in time in like 2005, 2006, maybe that would have been a time to try it, but I didn't, I was like trying to, find, work, trying to like, whatever.
Be a responsible adult.
Be responsible,
A responsible adult, and then now...
I remember watching like Last Comic Standing like that summer of 2006, and I was like, I know there was like a couple people that went on to be somewhat famous on that year, and like
was that the first year?
It's like the third or fourth.
Oh, okay.
Like Nikki Glazer, I remember was on that. That was like her first like TV thing, and she was like she had been doing comedy like 2 years, and like got stood in line and got on. So I was like, oh, that's cool. Maybe that's something I should do. But even that didn't like make me do it.
Right.
Then it was like 2009 when I was at the job I have now. One of my coworkers was like listening to something on his iPod and laughing. I was like, oh, what are you listening to? He's like, that's like Doug Loves Movies podcast. I knew who Doug Benson was. I was like, oh, that sounds fun. I'd listen like a comedian, and they'd be like, oh, I have a podcast. So I'd start listening to like all the comedy podcasts. and they'd all talk about starting out. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what you do. And it took me like 2 years to actually like go do the open mic at Connections. That's where first time I took the stage.
So did you get back into, you know what, I'm just going to keep calling every Monday, and that's what
Then
it was,
at
or
that
did they
point,
change it?
I think I just like they actually had like a night that was for open mics.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I guess in the 11 years since they stopped doing like they weren't a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
gotcha.
Sunday club anymore or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just showed up and was like, yeah, I want to do it, and they were like, okay, we can get you on in a couple weeks, and I think that maybe they said like, you know, push me off a couple weeks to see like maybe that's a way to like see who really wants it, because some people
they're
be like,
testing you, so to
they're like,
speak.
oh, it's a couple weeks, I don't know, but I was like, that's fine. Like I'll use that time to like get ready, because I think like when I knew I wanted to try it, I tried getting on Ann Arbor's open mic, and that like I called that, I didn't get on, so I was like, all right, then. I was like, let's try somewhere closer to home, because if I'm going to bomb, I don't know if I want to drive an hour after.
Yeah, all the way out there.
That is very smart
Thinking.
And I didn't bring very many people the first time, because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be good, you know? Like, my parents, like, 'cause I, you know, have a pretty good relationship with, like, parents and siblings. They knew I was going to do it, so I was like, I can't get away with just being like, oh, yeah, last night I did. So, like, they came, and, like, one coworker. I think I told a couple other people, like I used to do a podcast, so I told like the guy I did the podcast with, he couldn't make it, you know, did that, and then posted about it the next day, and people were like, what, I would have come, and I'm like, well, I didn't know, like, like it wasn't good, so.
Yeah, I can remember the first time I did it, I was like, I'm not really going to tell too many people, and you know, when you get more comfortable and you get more, you know, confident in what you're doing, they're like, hey, by the way, I've kind of been in the shadows telling jokes, and they're like, why? You know, like, you suck. One thing...
Well, I think people will come see you when you're new, and you start feeling a little more comfortable, so you tell people about stuff, and they'll come see you, and maybe you'll do well, maybe you won't, but now it's like, I'm way better now. And people are like, well, you know, I got kids, I'm busy, I was like, you saw me 10 years ago, like, I wasn't good.
Yeah.
I've had that exact same feeling, where it's like, okay, you guys were so all about it at the very beginning, and I appreciate that support, but now because I'm 6 years in, like, it would be a much better show for you if you waited and you came now
like,
instead of...
My mom thought that I was just going to do it occasionally, so she's like, oh, we'll keep coming out, but then I was doing it, you know, 4 nights a week. They were like, no, we're...
And they're seeing the same jokes, and you're like, this is what it is. What was your podcast about?
It was just, like... It was definitely like kind of free form, just you know, joking around.
Okay.
Sometimes I'd come up with topics to talk about, but like it wasn't anything like.
I'm so sorry that I keep kind of pulling on this, Justin, but I promise.
Oh,
you're gonna open it but I for those like real astute viewers, I try really hard. It doesn't always work. But I try really hard to give a subtle nod in whatever I'm wearing. So, like, if you go back, fun little Easter egg. I wore the Blind Pig shirt for Andrew Yang. I wore some dog comic for Nicole. And when I was thinking about what to wear for Pat, I was like, I don't have any, like, specific Pat merch. So I was, like, going through, I'm like, do I have any Purge anything? Like what can I get? And then the kind of off-stage connection that I learned Pat and I share is the love of a podcast called Never Not Funny.
Yep.
So that's what this shirt is.
I think that's probably like the most consistent thing I've listened to podcast-wise. Some things come and go, but I've been a subscriber since like the beginning of 2010. After listening to like, because they used to do the 20-minute like preview episodes, and you'd be like, all right, I guess I want to know more about what they were going to talk about. Yeah.
Yep. That's how I knew that I was a fan, because I had a very similar podcast trajectory. When I started listening to podcasts, I first listened to Adam Carolla on his radio show, and then when he switched over, that's what did it. But I tweeted out, it would have been about the same time, 2009, like, what are other podcasts? And Doug Benson and Chris Hardwick tweeted me back, and they said, you listen to ours, right? And I was like, nope,
No.
but I am now.
Yeah.
And then it was Doug that got me to
Oh, yeah.
all of these other
I mean,
ones.
I listen to stuff that maybe I'm not proud of listening to now. 'Cause, like I listened to a lot of Jimmy Dore content. And I was like,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
that's, now,
But-
like, no, I would.
But Jimmy Dore and Stephanie at the table with
that
Todd
was
Glass,
good.
that was funny.
Yeah.
That was funny. Yes, I defend that. But I did realize when I started paying for Never Not Funny, I was like, oh no, I'm a legitimate fan.
Yeah.
Like this is
Yeah, I
this
think
is
it's
a
like Never Not
constant in my
Funny,
life.
and whatever Tom Sharpling's thing is, it's been
Yep.
the best show
best
on
show.
WFMU. Now it's just the best show, but
Yeah,
he's
no,
like
solid.
him and Jimmy are like my
Solid choices. Have you ever gotten to work with Jimmy?
yeah. I think that's actually the first time I met you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah.
That was my subtle like.
'Cause
You're much more subtle about it. I'm
well, I didn't know. Like I was so like I started doing comedy in 2012, and like Connections where I started, but I would go to Ann Arbor a lot because I actually like when I was like, I'm gonna check out some comedy show, so I went and saw Jimmy Dore at Ann Arbor in like 2010, like right before the election, like the Rick Snyder election, because he was political then, but he wasn't like this kind of like
overly.
He's like off the wall, like just he's anti-vax and all kinds of
like it's borderline scary.
yeah. But I was like, I went and saw that, and like I won the ticket drawing, so I met Roger like the first time that show, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna perform here sometime, and like finally, that was the second mic I did after I got in at Connections. I did the Ann Arbor mic. And I remember I met Roger like before the show because I was like the first one there because I'm all like I try to be early, like probably too early for most things, and he was talking. I was like, "How long you been doing it?" I was like, "Oh, I'm real new." And he's like, "What? So like 6 months?" And I was like, "No, like maybe like 3 weeks." Yeah. And so he like he always talked to me and like seemed to kind of like me even then.
That's really great.
That was like the first place I got like a hosting weekend. I hosted for a guy that I thought was really funny, and now is a COVID denier. So I don't know. Maybe that's.
Oh, who is that?
Is Derek Langvanus?
Oh, I don't know that.
Yeah, I
name.
don't know the name.
He's
Derek
like,
Lang.
Derek
Yeah.
Langvanus. He's a Canadian. I think he maybe has U.S. citizenship now. And he was funny, but yeah. I've
Yeah.
just seen like social media stuff, and I was like, oh.
It's such a weird time.
Yeah.
to see some of that come through.
But like, yeah, so then like Roger moved me up to feature in like 2015, and then he'd like just give me that. It's like Jimmy was coming through. I think it was 2017, and I was like, I was like, I'd love to work with Jimmy. And he's like, well, Jimmy always brings a feature, and I was like, that's fine, I'll host. I don't mind. Like for this, like
Right.
I take and he was like, okay, so you let me do it. And I remember meeting you at the show, after the show, because you brought like a trivia calendar for Jimmy to use on the show because they started doing trivia stuff. And he was I don't know if he was like kind of trying to give you a hard time or
Oh,
say
he
that he didn't
definitely
think
was.
that they
Yeah.
wanted it or whatever. And I was like, I'll take it. And Jimmy was like, Pat, you can't take it. This is
Yes.
yeah. And then then I think I met you at like open mic after that. But yeah.
yeah, so at that time, I had not been doing comedy. So I was just a fan, and I was working at the trivia company, and we had a
yeah.
daily calendar. And what started it is and that was the first time that I ever met Roger. And Roger was standing next to Jimmy. And for those of you who know Roger Feeney, he's not a very large man.
No.
And neither is Jimmy. So it's two tiny men standing next to each other. I think they were behind a table, but Roger was acting almost as if he was Jimmy's bodyguard a little. Like he was just kind of standing there like this. And I came up in the very much like, hi, I didn't want to, I can send it to the show. I'm sorry. I didn't know you're going to have to take it back. And initially he grabbed it and he started doing a bit with Roger. Like, I don't know that I'm going to be able to get this in my suitcase.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to check my bag. Like, and he just kept going to Roger, like, right, Roger?
Yeah.
And he's like, And then he was like, this is shit. And then that's when Pat and it was very surreal then when I did meet you like as a comedian, because it was like, oh yeah, you were on the stage, whoa, like connecting those dots of like first doing it. Did you ever have anything like that where you saw somebody perform but you weren't doing comedy yet and then got a chance to work with him later?
Kind of. And again, it's not like, because so there's a local comedian named Tom Massey. I knew that he was doing comedy because I was friends with his nephew.
Okay.
And like I would see flyers around town, and then I saw him at a show one time. And I'm like, oh, that guy's pretty funny. And then when I got into comedy, he's one of the guys that I reached out to be on one of my shows.
Okay.
Yeah, and then now he hits me up all the time to be on my shows. Tom, I love you, buddy, but yeah. There's a limit, buddy.
Well,
I do love you, Tom, but yeah, no, Tom's a great guy, but yeah. And
some people will, like, they have a good time on a show, they'll want to do it, like, all,
I think it's what it is, but
it's like you're trying to do, like, it's the same town, you can't have someone on, like, every month or whatever.
And again, I love you, buddy, but yeah, he's a guy that I saw perform before I got into comedy, and then once I started getting, not getting back into it, once I got into it, I was like, oh, you know what, let me reach out to that guy, and then, hey, Justin, I want to be on your show every single time. It's like, again, Tom's a funny guy, so.
Yeah, mine were, it was definitely Pat and Cam Rowe. I'd seen Cam at Big Tommy's.
Oh, yeah.
And then one night I was at an open mic and Cam walked in, and there were probably other local comedians that I had seen, but Pat was definitely jokes that I remembered, like lines and delivery style, and no offense to Cam's jokes, but it was undeniable when he walked. I was like, I've seen him before.
How can you miss him?
Right,
6'9",
right,
300 something pounds.
Right. So it was, but it was definitely. Definitely interesting making those connections.
Yeah, he is a presence, to say the least. And I can remember when I first met you. I met you obviously out at Max.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you remember this or not, but I was gonna have you on a show.
I think I remember what
it was gonna be. So my stepbrother runs his own Comic-Con, and I was gonna have you, Dan Curry, and Robert Jacobs perform. Yeah. But then it got canceled last minute.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that was the first time that I was gonna have you on. But eventually, I did get you on at Bearded Lamb. You, Robert, and Dan. Killer lineup, by the way.
I don't think I did very well on that show, though.
You did good. You did good. I remember, you, Dan, and Robert always do well.
Yeah, I remember, like, compared to the other two, I was like, oh, I didn't do that good tonight.
You did fine. I will get you back on, of course. But yeah, I remember the first time actually seeing you was out at an open mic at Max. Because, I'm like, I got to go to Max at some point. And I went out there and, very cool spot, by the way. Now, who books Max, Pat?
Not me anymore. I was getting too much, like...
Getting too much...
yeah, I mean, well, because, like, Max, everything closed. Everything responsible closed in 2020. Then the bar, like, was, like, doing renovations and stuff. It didn't sound like it was going to come back at all. So we kind of like, all right, well, I think the show's just done. And it was that would have been a very Max thing to, like, not have any notice. Just be like, yep, the show's over forever. Bye. So I started helping out with another show. And then, like, last November, they were like, oh, Max is going to reopen. They want to do comedy again. Dan had stopped doing it, so it was like me and Robert could kind of, like, bring it back. So we were like, okay, yeah, let's do this. But then, like, trying to keep going with the show at Beggars and then doing Max, it was just a lot of me. I felt like I kind of had to be, like I was the person doing the booking at Beggars once Alana Banfield moved. That was like I had to do all that organization. I felt like I was trying to do the same thing with Max, and then like people who wouldn't get on Max would be like going straight to me, be like, Pat, I didn't get on again. Like, why not? What can I do? And I'm like, I don't have time. Like, I'm trying to work my day job, book 2 shows, do my own comedy. Like I was
Yeah,
just like,
it's a lot of work, and I've over the year. I mean, like I don't mind. Like I don't mind at all. Like when people reach out to me, but I'm like, sorry, booked up. Sorry,
Yeah.
booked up. Like it's just it's how it
and
is.
it's like sometimes it's not. There wasn't like a personal
Oh,
reason.
yeah,
It was
there's
just like, sorry,
nothing.
we had 80 requests, we had 40 spots.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, you know.
sorry, you're.
And one thing I do again, because we do have a lot of newer comics who watch this, and it's a conversation I had with actually a newer comic not that long ago, but every show and every venue and every person is going to be slightly different.
Yep.
But the key is to play by those rules that have been set, and that will serve you well no matter what city,
Yeah.
state, wherever. So if there is a show that has a page that they want you to reach out to, do that.
Yeah.
If there's a show that somebody books personally and they're okay with you talking to them
Yeah.
personally, go ahead and do
Yeah.
that.
I mean,
Yeah.
But if they've got a page and you're reaching out personally, bad look,
yeah.
bad
Yeah.
look, and it does nothing. It's not beneficial to you. It may not only piss off a person, but it's just like Pat said. There's so many things that are going on in everybody's real life as well. We're not at the point where we're coasting on our HBO specials.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there are real jobs and real lives. And
Yeah,
all
and
of
again,
that.
like Alana said, you learn the person that you're talking to. Me personally, I don't mind getting reached out to. I love it. I love talking
Yeah.
to people, but everybody's different. You don't bring a hockey stick to a baseball game, right? Learn the game that you're in, and you play by those rules.
I think it's just for me doing 2 shows. It was just
Yeah,
like double the messages.
it's a
And
lot. I mean,
I think now like Robert and Jackie do the booking. I think Nick helps them too. And I know they've been like, hey, yeah, we'll watch a clip or we'll try to like write back, which we didn't do before. So I guess that that should make it a little easier.
right.
yeah.
If you're new and aren't sure, send a clip. But it's still like, I'd say Max more than Beggars, but Max is a very, very popular mic. A lot of people want to do it. So, if they get, almost double the amount of requests that they have spots for, some people just aren't going to get aren't going to get picked.
It's a numbers game,
Yeah.
right? It's all a numbers game. That's just
Sometimes, like, they'll be like, well, we have someone on every month. People might get mad, but they do a good job every month. And, I think it's also key, are you doing the same stuff every time you get on? Because
Right.
some people are like, oh, I know that they're going to get back, but they're going to have something new,
Yeah, I mean, and like when a comedian is continually having new material, perfect example, the one comedian who I've had on my shows more than anybody is Timothy Locke. Because he brings a lot of new stuff every single time, not to mention he's funny as hell. It's like, yeah, dude, you can come on every year. I mean, I get Bill Bouchard on every December at my shows.
Yeah.
He's bringing new stuff. He always kills, and he has a huge following. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to get Bill on, not...
And it's about ultimately, no matter if it's an open mic or a show, the responsibility is of the booker to the venue, to the audience, to have a good show. So having a good show does not always mean having the exact same type of comedian. It does not mean having the same level of comedian. So it truly has very little to do with you, and it's where you fit in that puzzle. And yeah, if you're bringing new material and you would make sense for that show.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Don't take it personal.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
if the booker hasn't seen you, they're just like, well, I had 20 people who I don't know at all, might not be willing to take a chance.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I'd say for that, like, anybody, if you just keep doing it, wherever you can, if you're like, hey, I didn't get on this show, but there's another show I could do, just keep doing it. Because, like,
Yeah.
word does travel. And you'll
Oh
be
my
like,
God, yes.
you're like, oh, have you seen so-and-so? And then people can probably tell you.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of comedians who I respect who will come to me and be like, hey, this person is doing good things, like you might want to get them on their
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
I'm like, okay, then I'll try and make an open mic or a show that they're at so I can kind of see it for myself. But again, there are certain people in the scene who I respect enough to go just based off their word.
Yeah.
And there are so many comedians that are working not just in the Michigan, not just in our community, like just so many comedians. But it is a very, very, very small world. So your name will get brought up in rooms without you in it. And my recommendation is to make that, do everything in your power to keep that positive.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
in the same way that, so-and-so is working on new jokes and that's great, you should get them on, it will also very easily be like, they won't
So-and-so's
leave
hard
me
to work with,
alone,
so-and-so
or,
is,
they drink too much at the shows,
Yeah.
or,
If you are funny and you are respectful.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, wait. Are you ready for this?
Uh-oh.
If you're funny and respectful, the good comedians will go to bat for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
Transition.
Transition.
I've been dying to talk about this. So recently, Pat, you seem to have had some trouble with some little flying mammals in your
God.
house. What's
Yeah.
going on with the bats, man?
I just have bats in my house. I don't know how many. I don't know like what's going on, but yeah.
I didn't know
Getting
that
that.
in 2023 they were still making belfries.
There
we go.
Wow. So I mean, like, is this a way for you to secretly say that you're slowly becoming Batman?
No.
Batman?
I'm not. I'm a
Batman.
Marvel. I'm a Marvel guy.
Oh, okay.
DC out of here.
Yeah. Are there any Batman?
I hope that's what you said to
Yeah,
the bat.
make mine Marvel.
Like, I'm a Marvel.
Yeah.
DC yourself out of here.
Wham! Just go ahead and get it out. But that's crazy. Yeah. I mean, just bats just get in the house and like.
I mean, I think like the first time it was freaky, and I didn't know what to do, and that people are like try to like go outside at dusk and see if you can see like anything get in, and I tried, and like I don't know how long I'm supposed to stand
Okay.
outside of my yard.
I don't know
looking
this
for-
story. So the first time,
So
how did
it was
you
like
find out?
so it was like I might get some heat, but I feel like I should tell the truth.
Oh boy.
Exclusive.
It's getting spicy.
I mean, I've posted about it, but
Zoom in,
okay.
Daryl.
So it was like 2:30 in the morning, and I think that night, like I got home late. I went and did the open mic at River City in Grand Rapids.
Oh, fun. Mhm.
So I think I
Carl.
went to bed like a little bit after like midnight. So it's like 2:30. I hadn't been asleep that long, and I just heard like my cat running around, like being extra loud. So I kind of like sat up, and I was like, "What's going on?" And I saw him like looked like he was chasing something. So I was like, "Oh, I better go see what's going on," expecting it to maybe be a mouse or something.
Right.
Which I mean, I wouldn't want, but.
But you would understand.
Yeah,
Like,
Okay, all right. And then whatever it was chasing, like, flew. So I was like, oh no.
that is not a mouse.
Yeah, it is a deflator mouse.
Yeah.
German for bat.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then, so I ended up, like, because he had chased it. I don't know if he had got it at some point or whatever, but it was kind of, like, flying around all erratically and stuff. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And like it's I'm sleep deprived. It's late at night, and like I'm the only person in my house. I gotta take care of this. So I got a broom and I killed it, and I felt bad because I didn't. It's not something I wanted to do.
Yeah, but you don't want rabies. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I killed it with broom, and then I was like, what do I do?
Right. Yeah.
When my cat woke me up because he was chasing, as soon as I got up and was doing stuff, he was he left. He went down to the basement where he hangs out
he's
sometimes.
got this.
Punching out.
So I was like, all right, well, let's go see. So I looked at my cat to see if he could have any bites or scratches or whatever, and
that's
he
smart.
seemed okay. And I was like, maybe basement window got open. So I'm looking at the basement; they're all closed, and I was like, I don't know what. I was like, I don't know what to do. So I put it in a bag and threw it in the trash, and then Googling at 3 in the morning, what do you do when a bat's in your house? And I think the first Google result was what does a bat in your dream mean? I was like, no, I don't.
Okay, so what?
This is real life.
Daryl, I think you need to Google what a bat in your dream means. See what that is.
And the number
That
one.
was one of the things. It was
Yeah.
like, what is a
Number one
bat in your
solution.
dream? I was like, what? No.
Did it
Like,
ever cross your mind that maybe a vampire got into your house?
I don't know.
Vampire.
Yeah, a vampiro. But yeah, no, I mean,
So-
like, a bat's in your house,
So
dude.
like
You gotta do
I
what you gotta do.
think it was like 7 in the morning on the way to work. Like I went to work. I was like, I don't know what to do. I just have the bat in the trash. You wrap the bag in a bag and put it in the trash. And I was like, I think I'm probably okay. I called like my dad and he was like, oh, you're fine. Like I told Robert about it. Like, hey, this is a weird thing. And he was like, dude, you can't like just blow that off. Like it could have had rabies. You should
Exactly.
You got to get in touch with the health department. So I called them, and they didn't call me back for like 5 hours. They were like, "Yeah, you should get it tested for rabies, or if you can, or you might just need to do like rabies treatment." So I was like, "I'll get it tested," but then I was supposed
What
to
does
go
the
to.
rabies test involve?
Okay, well, so
I don't know if you can test, because I know for an animal, like if the animal's alive, they are going to kill it to test it for rabies.
they gotta check the brain.
Yeah.
And fun fact about fun. There's nothing fun about rabies, but rabies is the most preventable virus, but the deadliest virus on Earth. It takes like 5 months for it to finally like take hold. But once it does, it has a 99.9% mortality rate.
Yeah, there's like no cure for it
Yeah,
once you have it.
only one person in history has survived rabies because they put her in a coma and eventually her brain stopped swelling and then she came out.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want rabies. But yeah, I mean, like, the reason, because again, if an animal with rabies bites you, don't wait. For
Yeah.
Christ's sakes, don't wait. But you have like 5 or 6 months until it finally takes hold. So, yeah.
Yeah, and they were like, do you think it, because like health department was like, well, you were asleep when it was in your room, so do you think it could have bit you? And I was like, I don't think so. They're like, well, you might not have felt it if it bit you because their teeth are small. So they're like, you got to test it. You got to test the bat, and if you can't test the bat, then you just probably have to do the treatment. Which, I don't know if you've heard about what that is.
Is it the needles in the stomach? Or is that...
I think that maybe is, I don't know if they do that as much now, but they were explaining to me, it was like you go to like, you have to first visit, you have to go to the emergency room and get a bunch of stuff injected, and then you have to keep going back like every couple of days for like weeks, like getting like these hardcore treatments and stuff. And I was like, okay. So I had like a show in Traverse City that like Saturday, this was on Wednesday night, Thursday morning this happened. I was like, well, if I have to go get rabies treatments, I don't know if I can like, I don't want to leave. I was like, I don't know how bad they're going to be. And I also don't know if I can be like away from home or I'm going to have to get them. So I was just like, I'm waiting for test results. I don't know if I can do
So were they
your
able?
show.
So were you able to say?
I had
okay,
the bat. I had the
bat's in
bat,
bag.
and like, I can get the bat. I can get the bat tested. So I had to take it to like different places. I had to take it to animal control to have it put in like a box that I could take to the health department.
Oh my gosh.
Just all this like bureaucracy and all that stuff. So did that. Got the results like Friday afternoon that it was negative. So they're like, you're good. I'd called the vet to be like, I don't know, because like I had to worry about my cat too.
Right.
And the vet's like, well, let's see how the bat tests. If it's negative, you're good. Because my cat had like a rabies shot that was good until like 2025 or whatever, and they were like, but if it was positive, we'll probably just have to give him a booster.
That makes
Like
sense.
okay, so negative. So I'm like, all right, well, that's freaky thing, but hopefully that's behind me. And then it was like almost 2 weeks ago. I woke up because something was making noise above my head, and there was another one.
Revenge!
up!
Revenge! Yeah.
Wait, so what did you do in this one?
I killed that one too, yeah.
You are literally the Joker because
'Cause I
you're a
was like, I don't
comedian
wanna-
and you're killing bats. Look at this guy here. Literally the Joker. I love it.
Because I was like, I don't want to let it out, and then because like if they're like, well, you were asleep and it was above your head, you don't.
Yeah.
Because I guess if I had like seen it and got it outside and know that there's no way it could have bit me, then I guess I'd be good. But
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, I don't know.
Did you find out how they were getting in?
I don't know yet. I have someone coming next week to like
Yeah.
check.
It's probably a smart move. Did
Yeah.
you Google what it means to have a
So, a dream about a bat might symbolize a message from the spiritual realm or a call to seek guidance from a higher power. Bats are
okay.
also associated with the shadow aspects of our personality, such as our fears, insecurities, and repressed emotions. So there
Yeah.
you go.
But luckily it's real
Yeah,
life.
that was real life.
Yeah, that was real life. Yeah, I mean, but there are worse animals that could have been in your,
Yeah, but
still, but no, yeah.
I
mean,
don't know. I mean, yes, as far as violence or germs,
I mean, we had a
or
like
whatever,
if they
but
only have like a 1% chance of having rabies, so maybe
Yeah.
I was never that much of a threat of getting it, but still, like what if I get the one out of however?
that would be it would be really high up, and I am a Batman fan. It would be really high up on creepiest animals. to
Well, I
get
mean,
into
we
my
had a
house.
snake down here recently. Terrible joke.
But that wouldn't freak me out. Like there's something about the containment factor. Like if I look down and say there's a deadly scorpion, it's not going to scare me as much because I can put like a bowl over
Yeah.
it. But if a bat, but it's only got 1% of it having rabies, but it's flying everywhere. And
It's
I don't
the
know
movement.
what the fuck is
yeah,
going to
it's
happen.
like
That's frightening.
I'm not afraid of spiders, but I don't like when the big ones move fast.
No.
Yeah.
Whoa, man! Like chill the fuck
Yeah,
out. Like
Yeah.
slow your roll there.
Yeah, so when I posted about killing the first one, people were like, "Oh, you could have let it outside."
Yeah,
and I
but
was
that,
like,
you
"It's
know,
2 in the morning. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna get up."
He
and
doesn't want to get rabies, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
It's a bat. I mean,
I was like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I've got your back, Pat.
I guess I had another one after the second one, but I caught that one while I was awake, and there was no way it got close to me. So
yeah.
I'm not worried about that one getting me sick, but I just like had to do some venting about like, man, having bats in your house sucks. I wouldn't wish this on anybody.
Yeah.
The same people were like, bats are important to the environment.
You're always gonna have
It's like,
those.
yeah, that's it. I agree.
Yeah.
I don't want to kill them, but I don't want them in my house.
Yeah,
Like-
and you're put into a position where it's like, yeah, I understand the environment's important. I'm gonna let it bite me and get rabies. Yeah, no,
No, I was like, I posted. I found somebody that if they find more, they can get them out like without killing them. And people are like, well, you gotta wait till the fall. You can't do it now. I was like, no. If they find them, I want them out. Like if they tell me we found some, we can get them out, but we gotta wait a couple weeks. But we'll do this to keep them out of your house. I'm like, okay, but
But there's. I want to make a comparison, but I don't want it to get too political. But I would feel the same way as frustrated if anything was breaking into my house.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's your
regularly.
house, and I mean, again, you've got pets, you've got a son.
Yeah.
I have nothing, but still, I would,
I wouldn't, I don't think I would actually murder you, Justin, but I would be pissed off if every time I went to sleep,
I'm flying
Justin
around,
just
it's like-
came in and broke
Yeah.
my house and was like,
Hey, what's up? Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
up?
I'm touching this, I'm touching
playing
that.
Legos.
Yeah, slamming
It's like,
the
no,
cat.
this is my
Yeah.
house.
Yeah, it is we all have our sanctums. I
Yeah.
mean, I have a man that drops off bananas on my front
Yeah.
porch. He gets into the house, I'm getting my broom. Like, Johnny, get out of my house.
But Johnny is very important to
He's
the
the local
community.
environment.
Yeah, he
The
is.
local environment.
I mean, if he goes, the potassium levels may drop. We may have low potassium on Conway Street.
Everybody's getting leg cramps.
Yeah,
It's a bad time.
exactly.
So yeah, I think right before we recorded this, someone commented on one of the person defending bats, and I was like, "Ooh, I don't want like a flame war to start on my post."
You know what?
I
I
was
bet
just
they're
like-
the same person that stomps on a spider when they see it too. Probably.
Might be.
Yeah. But again, it
Like
just
the person who was defending bats, like someone I think is cool and all. I like no.
was their name Bruce Wayne?
No, no, but I'm like, I was like,
be
don't
killing
lecture
bats.
me on like keeping the bats safe, because like I don't want to kill them, but
Right.
they're in my house flying around my head. I'm not.
With again, they could potentially have rabies.
Yeah.
We want Pat around for many, many years.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that was a very interesting conversation. Again, I mean, it's a wild and fun time. So I had to pick your brain about it a little bit.
He's been so excited ever since he knew you were coming out. He's like, we gotta talk about the bats.
No. But do you before we go ahead and get out of here, do you have anything else that you want to?
Wait.
Oh.
I'm gonna jump in because
She's gonna fly in the back.
I know.
I'm gonna fly in there because we talked about how important Ann Arbor was in your
Oh, yeah.
origin story, and how you kind of moved up to feature, but then you were okay to go back and host with
Oh, okay.
Jimmy.
Yeah,
And now we're at the point where kind of the next transformation is happening for you in Ann Arbor. So tell us what's coming up.
Be headlining Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase the weekend of September 1st and 2nd.
well
So
deserved.
I think when this drops, that's
Yeah,
in like
this
just a
weekend.
few days. So
Get your tickets.
Yes, this man is very talented. I mean, this is now. I'm assuming Roger reached out to you and asked you about that?
Roger mentioned it like probably 2019 that eventually he could see me moving up there. Then COVID happened and messed things up. So it got like pushed out, and then like I brought it up, I think like last year. So I was like, hey, are we still working towards that? And Roger's always been like he wants to know that I have like you can do the time like without being like, well, I can do 45, but I might have to stretch. I might have to do some stuff that's not good. He wanted to feel like I was at a point where like it's not that.
Right.
Yeah, a solid.
I don't know.
amount,
I mean, it's hard to know because like I've done 45 minutes. I guess not more than just a handful of times, but I don't do it often enough to be like, yes, this is the 45-minute set. But so hopefully I'll have like new stuff too that I can work in. New stuff that I think is good. I'm not just gonna throw new stuff in and yeah.
So this is I know that this is the first time that you're headlining Ann Arbor. Is this your first club headline?
I mean that's hard to say because like I co-headlined the club that they used to have in Windsor with Sam Rager. We were both like I don't think I did 45 minutes either one, and then one time me and Robert co-headlined the club that they built in Eureka, California, but again that wasn't 45 minutes, so so I guess kind of like my solo headlining at a club.
That's
the big
so
debut.
exciting.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. Do you know who is going to be with you?
Nick Earl is going to be hosting.
Nice.
At least he told me he was. So, and then I asked to bring Caitlin Chekarowski from Chicago.
Nice.
I met her at Motor City one of the years, and she kind of mentioned she wanted to work that club because she went to U of M, and I was like, well, I don't know, but. I was always recommending her, but then like when I got the headline spot, I was like, oh, maybe I can get her in. It's like,
No, that's really, really, really great.
It's
So
very
everybody get your tickets. It's this weekend.
Yeah.
Pat Sievert.
If you're not doing anything for Labor Day, or even if you are, Labor Day is Monday. You got
Exactly.
you can go Friday or Saturday and still have
Exactly.
a long weekend.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You don't want to miss out this very talented guy. And hopefully no bats will be in the audience to come up there and heckle you while you're...
Do you have a Batman costume?
I actually do not. Like Pat, I was a Marvel guy as well.
Oh, okay.
I did like the Batman animated series
Yeah.
growing up.
Yeah. I mean,
but
that
then the
stuff's
X-Men
good.
cartoon came out and I was like, fuck this, man. X-Men are where it's at.
I liked them both, but yeah.
Yeah, the X-Men would totally mess up Batman. I'm telling you right now.
I was very much I was slow to learning that there was a difference. Like I was very much a huge fan of the X-Men cartoon.
Yeah.
But I was a really big Batman girl. But I didn't know
the two
it was,
together.
I
Yeah.
didn't
They were
know
like-
it was Crips and Bloods.
Yeah,
That's the best way of putting it. Yeah, I mean, people will
Crips
talk
and
at, well, if Batman had 3 weeks preparation time, it's like, well, you know what? It's a comic, so
Right.
Nightcrawler wins. There you go. I said it. I said it. He'll teleport Batman's head away.
Well, it's like the Jeff Horst joke, like whoever's writing it would like.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is true.
Who would win between like X character and X? It's like whoever wrote it is
Exactly.
going to decide. Like,
Yeah, and if I write, Marvel wins every day of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but again, that is going to be very exciting. Obviously, again, we know Pat's going to be headlining. Is there anything else that you want to touch on real quick before we wrap this up?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Where can people find you online?
It's Pat Sievert on Instagram, Twitter or X or whatever it is,
Right.
which I don't know. Maybe I might not be on too much longer, but
Did you hear that that they wouldn't even that he's having troubles because the Apple App Store
Oh, yeah.
requires
two letters or
Oh,
something.
really?
Yeah, I heard something about
Well,
that.
just make it a capital X
I
and a
still
small
have it
one.
on my phone,
Yeah.
so I don't know. But
Is it 2 letters
But
or
I
is it
s-
2 like characters?
I know it's becoming kind of like more right wing and shit. And
Yeah.
I was like, nah, I don't need to.
If I'm understanding correctly, it's like the app still exists wherever it was.
Yeah.
But to put it in the store for new
Okay.
users, it
Okay, so
it
you
has
can't,
to-
like,
Okay.
if you get a new phone and want to
Yeah.
re-download Twitter, you might not be able to find it.
right until they figure out how they're. I'm sure they're gonna figure out a way to.
Yeah, there's a way to get
do
past it. Yeah,
but
there's
it was
always
like
a
Twitter
way.
was the fun one, and now it's like, I don't know.
Tweet. So
Yeah.
wait, it was Twitter. You tweeted. Do you X now? Because I don't have a Twitter. I
They
never did.
honestly, this was
Yeah, I
one of
never
my
had Twitter.
favorite. One of my favorite points was just the brand marketing and advertising side of it. So it is now Post, but there have been a lot of kind of academic bougie marketing stuff to talk about the fact that they worked so hard to get brand recognition up to create tweet as a verb
Yeah.
accepted in the dictionary as an alternate to the noise the sound the bird makes.
Oh.
Yes.
That tweet is defined as the verb of posting on Twitter,
And now
and they're just giving that all
Damn.
up, and now it's
Wow.
just post.
X.
It's like,
X. Yeah.
What?
wow.
More reason to
Yeah.
not like Elon.
like, what are you doing?
Yeah, just wait until sitting down with Stanless becomes 37. 37. We're just gonna go ahead and change it one day all of a sudden. Just 37.
In a row?
Yeah.
You've got Beggars is what?
On Tuesdays
weekly?
now.
Every
Yep,
Tuesday?
Every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Usually start a little bit after 7 for people who are coming from out of town. Like, we'll get people dropping the day up because I think they're just like, oh, I gotta leave
Yeah.
like now. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
late. Like, well,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
talk to me first before you
you're-
just drop.
if you're watching this in time to buy tickets for Pat this weekend in Ann Arbor,
Yep.
then the following Tuesday, come on out because I will be at Beggars.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you can get the twofer.
Very cool, very cool. And as always, I have my monthly show at Bearded Land Brewing Company in Plymouth, the
Oh, yeah.
Rusted Crow Distillery in Dearborn Heights, Downey Brewing Company in Dearborn, and then hopefully soon the new Rusted Crow in Belleville will get past their whole opening, because when a new place opens up, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And then, yeah, we'll go from there. So, again, please like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.